St. Thomas University Journalism and the New Brunswick Beacon present The Basement Files.
Hi, I'm Tyson Hovey.
I'm Jordan Gill.
And I'm Alex Corbett, and welcome to this week's edition of The Basement Files. We're here on location at Odell Park on this beautiful fall day.
On this week's show, we're analyzing the results of the provincial election. What happened and what's in store for New Brunswick's new government.
Fredericton police are resorting to unorthodox methods to report crime. Turn to the net next time you need to dial 911.
Ghosts, ghouls, and history. We reflect on Fredericton's spine-chilling past.
Our top story, Premier Designate Brian Gallant has promised to create jobs and impose a moratorium on shale gas development. But will he do this? A political panel got together recently at St. Thomas University to discuss this. Jessica Christmas has the story.
Institute of Public Administration in Canada and St. Thomas University hosted a public discussion panel on the election results last night. Talked about how the Liberal Party would have to handle New Brunswick's social and economic circumstances in the future. Jamie Gillies told us his opinion.
It was a bit of a debacle. Democracy was sort of on hold for a little while there while Elections New Brunswick, which is an independent entity, was trying to sort out the counting of the ballots. And I think that what happened election night was a really difficult situation for elections and for the political parties running, because we kind of didn't find out what happened until the early.
The Liberal Party won 27 seats in comparison to the Conservatives, who won 21, and the Green Party that had won. New Brunswick had to wait until the next day to see the results due to technical difficulties with the machines. There was a new premier designated, Mr. Brian Gallant. Dr. Tom Bateman, chair of the Political Science Department at STU, gave us his opinion on the new premier.
Mr. Gallant is a very young person without much political experience. He also ran a very traditional liberal New Brunswick election campaign, which promised an awful lot of spending. He also promised a moratorium on shale gas exploration and development. And I think he is going to experience a great deal of pressure to reverse some of those campaign promises.
Liberals promise to keep under control New Brunswick's debts. They'll have to cut money on the rural areas.
So the difficulties will be very significant indeed for the new Liberal government, and those difficulties will start soon.
Frederictonians are expecting a lot of changes in their future, and now that the Liberal Party has won 27 seats in Monday's election, will Premier Brian Gallant fulfill those expectations? That's what New Brunswick has to wait and see. For STU Journalism, I'm Jessica Christmas.
In other post-election news, a software glitch during the New Brunswick provincial election has made a manual recount of some ridings necessary. One local brewing company is taking advantage of the polling woes. Emily McPhee has the story.
You wouldn't normally link elections and beer together, but today you do. Picaroons has released the beer they call the Tabulator in reaction to the delay in polling results. The brew sold out within a week at the Fredericton location. Peter Morrison has been a Picaroons employee for the past 3 years. He said the beer got great reviews.
Chuckle. Usually started off with a good laugh. Most people heard about it through like emails or Facebook or some sort of like social media.
The beer was advertised as, quote, a conservative extra special bitter that's been dry hopped quite liberally with an unaccountable amount of green hops, end quote. Speaking of green hops, David Kuhn, the Green Party provincial leader, loved the beer.
Oh, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah?
I think it's brilliant. There's not enough satire going around in this province. In fact, I think political satire is an essential part of democracy, and we need more of it.
A manual recount of votes was planned for Sunday. Voting officials are unsure if the software used by their department was what also delayed the results on Monday night. The official results came in at around 2 a.m.
After waiting nearly 4 hours for election results, one could say a voter was in need of a drink, and Picaroons definitely delivered. For STU Journalism, I'm Emily McPhee.
The new Liberal government of Brian Gallant was sworn in this week. The ceremony was presided over by Lieutenant Governor Graydon Nichols at the legislature. The ceremony not only included the official start of Gallant's premiership, but also the unveiling of his cabinet. At 32, Brian Gallant has become the youngest premier in New Brunswick history.
The Greens will likely obtain party status as the legislature reconvenes later this year. Party leader David Kuhn made waves by becoming the Greens' first MLA in the New Brunswick legislature. But a party usually needs at least 5 seats and 20% of the popular vote before becoming an official party. Premier Brian Gallant says the Liberals will support the Greens' promotion to official party status. Party status means Kuhn will receive a bigger budget, higher staff, and more time on the legislature floor.
There's a new way to report crime in Fredericton. Police are turning to online reporting forums due to budgets and efficiency. They're hoping by doing this that it will allow officers more time to investigate more serious crimes. Oscar Baker III reports.
Fredericton Police Force recently announced that they are working on online police report forms. Citizens will be able to file a complaint about small crimes with the police without having to call them directly. Constable Duncan Lombard of the Fredericton Police Department spoke on their behalf.
At this point, I think like any other organizations, the budgets are really strained, and we have a certain amount of resources, and we're trying to do the most we can with those resources.
Constable Lombard spoke about the online forums freeing up police so they can work on more serious crimes. Citizens would report on graffiti and other petty crimes on the online forum. Citizens like Richard Vanderbeek.
If it's a companion or an option for the citizen, I think that's a good tool to have, as long as they continue to have the live person option as well.
Despite the rumors of a spike in violent crimes, Lombard ensures that the public will be informed about the police's strategies to combat this.
We want to make sure that the public is well informed of what we're doing to alleviate some of those concerns.
Police are working on having their online crime reports within the next year. Citizens like Richard Vanderbeek are concerned that the process will depersonalize their relationship with officers, but do feel that in most cities, police are stretched far too thin. We'll have to wait until next year until the online crime reports are working. For Stu Journalism, I'm Oscar Baker III.
Irving vs. Irving is a new book by NB journalist Jacques Poitras. This in-depth looks give readers a view into Canada's third richest family and the changes behind the Irving companies. Irving vs. Irving is not only attracting provincial attention, but with the Energy East pipeline on the horizon, readers across the country are taking a look at what happens behind Irving's closed doors. Joseph Tunney has more on the story.
Many notable names in New Brunswick came to socialize and check out the new book at the release party at King Street Ale House last Thursday evening. One of the major focuses of Poitras' book was the increasing divide between the Irving Oil and Irving Forestry halves of the once united company, and the varying levels of difficulty the media had in covering the Irving's dealings.
But then with this book in particular, the Irvings are very private, and so I had to really scour around for a lot of information. There was no one place where I could go and get sort of all the information and process it.
Poitras gave a quick speech thanking all the contributors who helped with the book, and then moved on to signing individual copies. The whole separation of the Irving group of companies roots back to the death of the founder, K.C. Irving, and his division of the empire in his will. Poitras said, although he knows many New Brunswickers dislike the Irvings, his book is not trying to make anything simpler than it really is. As for the newspaper monopoly, that story isn't clear-cut either.
Because I don't think it's black and white. I don't think it's as simple as everything in the paper is distorted. I don't think it's as simple as everything in the paper is completely accurate and transparent. It's somewhere in the middle.
Poitras dedicated the book to Robert Pichette, an old colleague from the Telegraph-Journal. Pichette believes the book is a good look at a complicated situation, but doesn't see it changing the landscape of the Irving Empire anytime soon.
No, books seldom change anything, but they throw light on a situation or a problem. This is not a problem, it's a situation. And it's good to know what's going on and to have a very good mind look at the beginnings and the ends of a chapter, of a story, an ongoing story, because it is an ongoing story. The Irvings are not going to disappear.
Although Irving versus Irving is now on bookshelves, for the true future of the Irving groups of companies, we'll have to see if Irvings to come follow the family value of discretion. For Stu Journalism, I'm Joseph Tunney.
Safety concerning taxi drivers is on the rise after an assault and attempted robbery took place. Fredericton police are still looking for a man who assaulted and attempted to rob a taxi driver. The man called the taxi to a specific address and waited for it to arrive. The driver was assaulted soon after arriving, but luckily sped away. Greg Report takes a day shift.
And
kind of makes you wonder what type of people are sitting behind you sometimes. In the bigger cities, they have the plexiglass between the drivers and the passenger, and it pays off in the big cities.
Fredericton police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
A new skate park has opened up in Fredericton. While the park includes brand new equipment, there are some concerns with the safety of the equipment at Mitch Clark Nass's Park. Emma Chappell reports.
There's a new spot for freestyle sports in Fredericton, but it's not without controversy. The Mitch Clark Nass's Park recently opened on the north side. Dylan Papazian-Claire says he enjoys having a new place to ride his bike.
It's something new to ride. New stuff is always fun to ride. I mean, we haven't had a new skate park in Fredericton in a while.
However, critics say the equipment installed is unsafe to ride on. The controversy is over these metal ramps, with sharp edges that can cause injury.
It's dangerous. It's just sharp. Stories of people getting split open in the ribs and all that. It's not fun. It's just not safe.
Robert Nicholson of East Side Board Supply says the city should have installed concrete ramps.
Too dangerous for younger kids, even older kids like myself.
Papazian-Claire says that injury is all part of the sport.
The way I look at it is it's a skate park, so I mean, it's already a liability in the first place because it's somewhere that you're going to go do, you know, freestyle sports like skateboarding and biking and scootering or whatever. So, you know, it's a dangerous thing in the first place.
The Mitch Clark Nass's Park has been open for a month now, but Nicholson says he'll continue to fight for safer equipment. For Stu Journalism, this is Emma Chappell.
Ever thought you'd get published at age 11? Students at a local middle school are hoping to land themselves in the pages of an academic journal. Connor J. has more on the story.
Students at the Nashwaak-Sis Middle School have been studying elastic bands, and their research may land them in the pages of an academic journal. Their teacher, Chris Abandonato, is behind the experiment.
We set up the experiment where we looked at 3 elastic bands, a thick one, a long, thin, and a short, and we wanted to see how far they traveled.
The students are working on getting their paper, titled The Secret to Flinging Elastic Bands, published in the National Science Teachers Journal. Malcolm Christie is a grade 6 student and is one of the students taking part in the project.
We just did the experiment with elastic bands because flinging elastic bands is always fun, and we thought that grade 4s might like to do it and not get in trouble for it.
The S for Science Club, which has been the launch pad for the paper, encourages kids to do science experiments differently.
Kids were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. We didn't think that was going to happen. We mixed A and B and assumed we were going to get C, but we got something completely different.
They've teamed up with St. Thomas University and have some faculty members working on their editing team.
Once we have our final version, Dr. Grant Williams from St. Thomas University will send that out to the NSTA. That could take anywhere between 6 months and a year, depending where the paper falls.
The club is already looking at other projects that might get published. Right now, they're thinking about the way paper airplanes fly through the air.
Right? What can we do with paper airplanes that might, change, the way, we know how to shoot a paper airplane, right?
For Abandonato, showing students the importance of science is what it's all about.
So I think it's very important that kids at a young age, have this recognition that, wow, I've contributed, something in science and in math and to my community.
Abandonato has been accepted to a number of PhD programs in the United Kingdom. For Stu Journalism, I'm Connor J.
Canadian air travelers used to count on their first bag being checked for free, but that idea has left the runway. Air Canada is now charging $25 for the first checked bag, leaving passengers' wallets a little bit lighter. Yifan has more on that story.
Air Canada launched a new policy on luggage fare. Unlike the current rules that passengers have one free checked luggage quota, the new policy will charge $25 for the first checked luggage on economic class for both domestic flight and those heading to US. This new policy is not widely spread yet. Alexandra Randall is a student at St. Thomas University who usually travel to Labrador.
No, I haven't.
Passengers like Alex don't like the change.
I don't like that price.
Some passengers think it's acceptable, but they prefer some other way to avoid paying it.
Probably more carry-on.
A passenger, Alyssa Daigo, expresses her positive. However, airports in some big cities started to be brutal on sizes of carry-ons. Except for some standard suitcase, most part of travelers never think that their carry-ons are oversized. Under the new rules, Air Canada requires oversized carry-ons needs to be checked, which means more cost for the trip.
It's hard to predict whether people staying with Air Canada or other options.
New policy will land in November. Experts predict it may cause more chaos. We don't know how long will the new policy maintain. For Still Journalism, I'm Ethan.
An old Fredericton house has a new lease on life thanks to an interior designer that has turned an old government office into a luxurious apartment and clothing boutique. Kate Olton has the story.
In 2012, Victoria Bohr purchased her second heritage home, formerly known as the Palmer House, and with the help of her husband Scott, transformed it into a beautiful home and successful boutique. Studio 103 carries furniture, art, carpets, clothing, lighting, and draperies, all of which Bohr imports from around the world.
We renovated the house. It was already a commercial building, so it was easy enough for us to do that. And started renting it for the store downstairs. We put our kitchen stuff on the second floor, did exactly what I always dreamed of doing, which was just an open concept loft for me and my husband. Put 3 spaces upstairs for the girls.
Palmer House was originally built in the 1800s and was a private residence that contained 13 rooms and 4 bathrooms, but no kitchen, and later became offices for the province. Connie Wheaton is a regular at Studio 103 and often brings her children along for the visit.
I actually bought this the other day here, and I've bought lots of the giftware stuff and pictures. It's just such a nice place, a nice building. It's a nice place in Fredericton to shop for sure.
We source things together. It's so much fun. So we're incorporating work and business together, which we both love doing.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great life. And I am exactly where I was meant to be.
This one? Yeah? Look at all the sparkles.
The history of the building continues to grow, coloring its new heritage in style. The once cold and empty interior is now filled with light, laughter, love, and lots of customers. For Stu Journalism, I'm Kate Olton.
Science East is turning 20 this weekend. The organization is celebrating with lots of chocolate cake and screaming children. Lawrence Mazerl has more on the story.
This historic building was once a jailhouse. Not anymore. For the past 15 years, this building has been owned by the Science East organization. Not only are they celebrating their 15th year in the building, but also their 20th year in operation. To commemorate this, Science East is having an open house during the weekend, allowing the public to view their exhibits during the weekend with no charge.
This is pure alcohol.
Michael Edwards is Science East's Director of Programming. He likes to set things on fire for an audience.
We've been in this building for 15 years. We're getting to capacity. We've kind of converted every nook and cranny. We've got the attic converted into office space. We've got all the cells used. So we're at the point where we filled up the building. So we would love to expand the building and do something with it as well, but that's something that's still in the works.
Science East was also visited by the Institute of Biomedical Engineering, showcasing some prosthetics.
In hockey, we have ones for playing baseball. We also have some specialty ones for playing something like the guitar. This is guitar pick attached. You can strum the strings there.
Ali Hussein has been demonstrating these prosthetics throughout the weekend. According to him, a true replacement arm is still out of reach.
One of the specialties that we do are myoelectric devices, and what that means is we'll use the electrical impulses from a patient's residual limb and use that to control an electric hand. So we have a hand that opens and then one that closes.
Edward hopes that Frederictonians will continue to visit and support Science East so that any plans for expansion can be taken off the drawing board and made real. For Stu Journalism, I'm Laurie Mazerl.
From Russia to Fredericton, a female hockey player comes to Canada to experience the life of an international student athlete. Kenya Marceline has more in the story.
In this group of hockey players is an Olympian. Marina Sergina is a 28-year-old player from Russia. She played in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics and the IIHF Women's World Hockey Championships for Team Russia.
It was amazing. I was so proud and happy to represent my country in Vancouver. And it was a big opportunity to meet famous athletes from the whole world. So I will never forget this experience in my life.
Sergina came to Fredericton to get an education and to get a dose of Canadian hockey after playing pro in Russia for a couple of years.
Moving to Canada, one of the big experiments for me in my life. Opportunity to get an international degree and play hockey made me come here.
Not everything is so easy for Sergina. She seeks help from her teammates often and also uses a little internet help to help her better understand the English language. Teammate Eliza Snyder helps her often.
Right now for her Peace Studies class.
Even though Sergina has a little more difficulties in school than the other girls on her team, she is seen as the mother of sorts because of her age.
I actually never had before a nickname, but my teammates figured it out really fast. And now they call me Ma, which make me feel a little bit older.
When she's not playing hockey or doing schoolwork, Sergina enjoys the outdoors. Her favorite thing about Fredericton is the nature and the scenery she gets to experience on a regular basis. For Stu Journalism, I'm Kenya Marcelin.
A unique sport is gaining popularity in Atlantic Canada. Just one look at their camouflage uniforms and you can tell this isn't just your regular pickup game. Sean McCullum is in Zeeland, New Brunswick. Sean, what's going on down there?
I'm here at Blood Bowl 5 right now, an annual event put on by Airsoft New Brunswick, and the 40 to 50 players right now, we found that they're in it for the guns, the guts, and the glory.
Test firing their rifles and prepping their gear, airsofters are meticulous with their pre-game routine. Airsoft is a similar sport to paintball, but has more military-themed objectives. The athletes must put their tactical knowledge to use in order to score more points. These guns may look real, but actually fire 6mm plastic BBs. Don't let that fool you though, they will definitely leave a mark. Many airsofters say their sport requires maturity. Players place a red rag on their head to mark when they've been hit. Because there's no lasting mark, athletes use the honor code. Andre Melanson is the leader for Biohazard Airsoft Team. He thinks the public may not understand what airsoft is all about.
I think a lot of people don't know about it, and there's a lot of misconceptions, especially with the guns and stuff that's been happening in the media where people are being irresponsible and showing their guns in public, which causes police response.
Despite getting bashed in the media, Melanson and many other players have high hopes for the future of the sport. Jason Hanley is the co-founder of Airsoft NB.
Well, there's definitely a lot more clubs popping up now. When we first started in 2009, there was only 1 or 2 other groups that we know of in the whole province, but you know, with Facebook and YouTube and that sort of thing, like, people are starting to catch on now, locally that is. So now we have multiple clubs in Moncton. There's guys in St. John, Bathurst, Miramichi, definitely here in Fredericton and Oromocto. We get a lot of the Army guys from Gagetown.
Many players carry 20 pounds of gear or more. Airsoft is indeed a cardio workout, and camo hydration carriers are sported by many airsofters. Athletes drip sweat as the 4-hour game draws to a close. Many of these players will be itching to get back into the field ASAP.
Airsoft is a thrilling and fun way to stay physically fit all year round, and with a growing following in New Brunswick, it's sure to be a sport to follow. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Sean McCullum.
For those who love haunted houses, howling winds, and spooky stories, Halloween is the best time of year. And what better way to get into the season with some of Fredericton's very own ghosts? Brittany Lively has a story.
Before we go any further, does anybody have any idea how many types of ghosts there are? Pop quiz.
The Calathumpians, a theater group, have been performing for crowds for over 15 years. One of their main performances is the Haunted Hike, starting in June and running until Halloween. Hilary Ball, a Calathumpian for the past 6 years, was inspired by their performances and decided to audition herself.
A lot of cool folklore and ghost stories in Fredericton, a lot of old houses, creepy places, so I think they just thought it was a good outlet to tell those stories.
On the hike around downtown Fredericton, ghosts pop up to tell their story, giving hikers an insight to the past.
I need a new man in my life, and that's what she does.
Will Pacey, director of the Calathumpians, is not too sure how he feels about ghosts.
I'd say that I'm a bit of a skeptic, but I have experienced some things that make me wonder if ghosts are actually a thing.
you know, I have some healthy skepticism, but I think that ghosts do exist.
The ghost stories get spookier as it gets darker, adding to the thrill of the hike.
Spiraling down
What?
with your inner demons
What?
consuming you from the inside out, burning!
If you're looking for a scary story, the Calathumpians Haunted Hike is the place to be. For Stu Journalism, I'm Brittany Lively.
Thanks for watching The Basement Files.
Tune in 2 weeks for our next report.